Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today it is chapter 26 of the Tao Te Ching called Gravity and Temperance. Now, I know recently I've been a little bit on our good man James Trapp, who has kindly done the translation for this version of the Tao Te Ching. And unfortunately, I have to get a little annoyed with James Trapp yet again, only for one word this time, the first word in the verse. He calls the first word in the verse heaviness. I would rather call it gravity, and he's titled the verse Gravity and Temperance. So I don't think I'm too far off. So I'm gonna read it his version and then we'll talk about it. Gravity and Temperance. Heaviness is the foundation of lightness. Quiescence is the mastery of activity. So when a nobleman is on his travels, not for one moment during the day does he let his baggage train out of his sight, even in the most beautiful scenery. He remains calm and dispassionate. How much the less then a male lord of 10,000 chariots treat his subjects lightly. Through lightness, he loses his foundation. Through intemperance, he loses his throne. So, a lot to talk about in this little verse. It's packed. I'll let you see it's this one. So you can have a look at it if you so choose. It's a beautiful book. I highly recommend if you can find a copy, do. There's some beautiful illustrations throughout the whole thing. So, gravity and temperance. I like to think of this as like focusing on your center or having that grounded approach. When you think gravity, I want you to think grounded in reality, grounded in the present, grounded in yourself and your mind. Maybe think about that moment after you finish a really nice meditation, that moment of like clarity and calm where you sort of feel detached from everything in your life causing you anxiety and stress. You feel detached from it all and you realize like, this stuff doesn't actually matter. This stuff doesn't impact me. This stuff can't hurt me. It can't touch me. I want you to think of that when you think of gravity, when you think of this grounded, centered, focused point of view. Now, the first line, heaviness is the foundation of lightness, is often translated as gravity is the foundation of lightness. And so I don't know why he's chosen heaviness. I think he's chosen it because throughout Taoism, we talk a lot about how there are dichotomies that are actually really closely connected. So like rigid and soft. We talk about the rigid old oak tree that doesn't bend and then it breaks in the storm. And we talk about the bending grass that can flow with the wind and that doesn't resist. It bends and it flows. Just like we talk about water flowing through the different creek beds and rocks and eroding its path of least resistance to the ocean. So we talk a lot about these dichotomies. So I think he's used heaviness as a dichotomy to lightness, but I think gravity or centeredness is the foundation. And so in this regard, he is talking about lightness as like quick moving, like it's light on its feet. It's very quick moving. It's very changeable. And so if heaviness is the foundation of lightness, what it's talking about is when you are grounded, when you are centered, when you are focused, you have this kind of ability to deal with situations as they come, to not have to worry or have anxiety. It's not until you are heavied down with anxiety and difficulty and you're regretting the past and you're worrying about the future. It's not until all of that stuff happens that suddenly you lose your center and you lose your temperance and you become intemperate. And it says at the end, through intemperance, he loses his throne. So it is through all of those emotions and those very changeable things that we are affected by this. But if we can stay grounded and focused, that lightness, that quick ability to change and move and flow becomes a strength. It doesn't become a weakness. And I think we can see a lot of the duality again, where lightness, this idea of being movable, being changeable, can be a bad thing or it can be a good thing. And it all depends on your outlook. It all depends on how you see the world and how you interact with it. So there's a few other interesting little things in here. I think it's all interesting. So the most famous line of this one, and it's translated in a bunch of different ways, is, "So when a nobleman is on his travels, not for one moment during the day does he let his baggage train out of his sight." And essentially, nobleman, again, a controversial translation. Sometimes it's the sage, sometimes it's the master. Um, when it's talking about a nobleman here, it's not really talking about like a guy with, a lot of money or something. It's talking about someone who understands the philosophy, who is a Taoist, who gets it. When a nobleman is on his travels, he doesn't let his baggage train out of sight. And you can think of this as life. Life is this journey. Life is this endless travel with your baggage train, with your whole life with you. And if you don't let it out of sight, if you don't let it get into danger or worry, if you allow yourself to be grounded and have that gravity, have that heaviness, have that focus, no matter how beautiful the scenery is, no matter how treacherous or difficult the path might become, you know your journey, you know your path. I think Taoists get a lot of flack for being undecided or unmoving. We talk a lot about Wu Wei, which is non-action, not doing. But people that look at it that way are looking at it in a very surface level way. Taoism doesn't mean to do nothing, and it doesn't mean to somehow be lazy or incompetent. Taoism is a focused stillness that allows you to move when you have to move, to make the decisions you need to make when you need to make them, without getting the anxiety or the regret or the passions of emotions, high and low. Taoism is about stillness of mind. It is about centered focus. And when you have that centered focus, nothing can move you off of your path. Nothing can dissuade you from what you're supposed to do. It is this wise interpretation of how you're supposed to act and behave. And I think a lot of people kind of associate Taoism with this like lazy, do nothing philosophy, just sit in a shack at the top of the mountain and, gain insight from the universe. And it sure can be, if that is your path, if that is what you're meant to do, by all means, like as a Taoist, go, let yourself flow. But that's not about it. Taoist, there are senior level athletes, there are archers, soldiers, political people, there are economists, there are people all over the world who embrace Taoism and embrace the idea of stillness of mind, giving you clarity to enact what you want to enact or enact what you should enact, making the world a better place, focusing on the goals you have, being there for the people in your life. These are all focused goals that Taoism can help you achieve through stillness of mind. You are getting rid of the negative things in your life. You're getting rid of these barriers, these blockades, these scenic things that are very passable and changeable. The scenery is going to change tomorrow. So there's no point in letting it negatively impact your day. You can still appreciate the view, but you don't let it change the path. You don't let it shift you off your centered focus. And that's just like my little interpretation on this. So even in the most beautiful scenery, he remains calm and dispassionate. So that's this idea that, 100 slings and arrows can be shot towards you. And as long as you have this calm, dispassionate approach to it, you're going to be a lot better than if you panic and run around with your head cut off. There's multiple approaches to deal with the situation. And the Taoist approach to most situations is to look at it with a leveled amount of skepticism and interpretation, logic, wisdom, past experience. It's trying to look at it holistically and understand how it will impact you in that moment. And hopefully you have the tools in that moment to deal with it. So there's no point worrying about it or regretting about it in the past or the future. You're just going to embrace what you have when you have it. So essentially, gravity and temperance. It's this idea of keeping a centered, focused, calm approach to all of life's problems, all of the issues. And by doing that, you will not only be a nobleman, noblewoman, great leader, sage, wise person, a good friend, a good family member. That's the idea behind it. And I think it's a great way of looking at the duality in Taoism, because we talk a lot about soft and rigid. We talk a lot about flowing and solid. We talk a lot about light and dark. And now we're talking a lot about heavy and light. But in the same regard that we talked to all of those things before, neither one of those things is inherently bad. And I think that's one of the things that Taoism does such a good job of, is we're not trying to vilify one side or the other. We're not trying to say left or right, up or down. We're trying to say these two things are really connected, and both of them can be good, both of them can be bad. What really matters is how you embrace them. You know, it comes back to the fundamental idea in Taoism where we have no control over the universe, but we get to choose how we react to it. That is our control. That is our ability to interact and engage with the universe. And neither these things, hot and cold, up and down, neither of these things are inherently bad. These things just exist. These things are. The Tao is. It exists. It's the energy, it's the universe, it's you, it's me, it's everything. Nothing is inherently bad, nothing is inherently good, but your outlook on these things, your temperance, your centered focus, that is what really matters. And I think that is such a beautiful, freeing and unifying idea in Taoism. So I very much hope that you're able to keep your center. Remember to meditate, remember to breathe, just a little bit of breathing exercise. It's been shown to reduce stress, relieve all kinds of problems, relieve inflammation, help center yourself, make you a better person, a better friend, a better lover, a better family member. It's always a good thing. More mindfulness, more understanding and appreciation for where you are and what you're doing. Always a beautiful thing. Treat yourself lightly is what I say, and give yourself the gravity that you need. And thus endeth the lesson. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your ideas, your comments, your thoughts on this idea of gravity and temperance, on centered focus. I think it's a really interesting topic. It's a neat verse. It's a really slept on. It's not really looked at a whole lot. So let me know what you think. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.